Alright, I'm back with yet another unboxing. It's been a little while, but, well, I finally got something. And I'm going to stop yapping because I'm very excited for this. The unit in this box is one of my top grails, actually. I've been waiting for like a week for this to arrive. It's, USPS was, kind of struggling to get it here. Anyhow. Alright, here it is. Yep, that's right, I got another GE. But this isn't any GE. This one is a home and away portable smoke alarm. That is right, this is General Electric's very rare travel alarm, the SMK-2. And if you know me, then you know that I've been wanting one of these for a long time. So, yep. So, I'll show the box. Here's the front. It's got really cool box art. Here's the bottom. The side. And this was pretty expensive, but I really couldn't help myself. It was sitting on eBay for like 3 months. So yeah, sadly they destroyed the box opening it. This isn't how you're supposed to open it, but it is what it is. It's not too horrible, I guess. And yeah, so anyhow, I guess I'll get into the actual unit itself. They have it taped. Alright, I'm very excited for this. I'll put the box off to the side. Here's the manual. Very nice looking manual. General Electric. Another manual for installing it. I'll get into all that later. This is where you can get it maintenance out, I think. And then this is an ownership registration certificate. But I'll get more into that stuff later. And then the alarm itself. Yeah, from here it looks just like your normal 82141C, but if you, well, look closer, it has this little tab here, which is for hooking onto your door, by the way. It's got instructions on the back, and it's got this. Which I will show you. Oh, wow. Okay, this is actually very rare. This one has a black plastic sensor. I've never seen that on these before. Wow. Okay, this is way rarer than I was expecting. Usually these just have the normal metal sensor. Here's the battery. It's actually, oh, well, it doesn't have the battery connectors. So yeah, this is actually much rarer than I thought. These don't usually have that sensor, but anyhow, this connects into here actually, like so. So that's what that's for, and I'll demonstrate that more. Oh, and here's the label. But anyhow, I'm going to clean this off, so I'll be right back. Alright, got it cleaned up the best I can. So here it is in more detail. This is the SMK-2, General Electric. This is their travel smoke alarm. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, these are very rare. And was a grail of mine. And these were kind of random, well, actually very random, for GE because, well, you know, it's not really too often when you saw big brands making travel alarms. And something that, and then of course, the one thing that makes these really interesting is this, the cord, which when you plug in, so if you had a battery in it, which I will demonstrate, when you'd have a battery in it, if you would be like to go on an airplane, instead of having to disconnect the battery, you can just pull this cord out, and that would deactivate the unit, so it wouldn't go off accidentally in travel. And yeah, and these, well, weren't really that popular, as you can tell, because they're rare. So I'm really glad I could finally get one. But anyhow, I'll show this next to, well, I'll plug this in first just so it won't fling around. So I'll demonstrate. I'll put it next to the normal version. This is the 821401. This is actually earlier than this. This is the original rectangular version that came out. And as you can see, they're quite a bit different. The sensor is the main thing that I focus on. Like I said, I've never seen one of these with this black plastic sensor. I've only ever seen them with the silver or metal sensor, which, so that's rare in itself. Now this isn't late enough to have the Black & Decker style horn. It still uses the earlier horn, whereas this is a later GE model. This one uses the version of the horn that was used by Black & Decker as well. So you can see that. And this one has the black plastic sensor. So yeah. This one shares more similarities with this one. The only similarity, real big similarity this one has with this is, of course, the sensor. And then let me get out the Black & Decker version here. You can see this one uses the same sensor, although this one has a different button mechanism for some reason. And yeah. Then this one has this little cap over, well, whatever this is. I honestly don't know what that is. But yeah, it does seem to be the same. It has this little thing here in the same spot, so this is most likely what's under here. I'm not sure if any of these had that. I presume not. But yeah. And here's the label again. Pause if you want to read. And then the unit is from 1982. So yeah, this is decently late. Yeah, now I wonder, I'm not too sure if they had versions of these with the brown base. I presume not, because those are like really early 82141s and 82141Cs. But that would be neat to see. And we have found a few of these in houses over the years. I think 2 or 3 of them we've seen in houses. And it actually does have instructions to install these normally, like you would a normal smoke alarm. So yeah. But anyhow, I'm going to stop yapping, and I'm going to put a battery in this and demonstrate, well, how this unit really works. So I'll be right back. Alright. Now, I really do hope this works, because I know the seller never tested it. In fact, they didn't even show images of the inside of the unit. Alright, so push the button down, and it does not work, but I heard a chirp. When you do this, as you can see, it works. And that's really what makes this unit special. And then here's the door clip better. There's like a big plastic piece added, which it is actually quite interesting to see that it's actually separate from the main molding, so that I presume that is removable. Yes, it is. There's a screw down there, I see. So yeah, anyhow, let's give this more of a proper test. The cover closed. Yep, it just does your classic C4, as people call it, warble tone. Or GE warble tone. Anyhow, now, of course, like you guys are probably already expecting, I'm going to go through GE history, as I have a lot of GEs, and if you know me, I personally crown myself as being the GE king, so I'll start off with their first model. Here's their first model. This is the 8201-001. This is a 12.6 volt unit with the red battery flag, and this is their original circuitry that they used, well, for the most part, other than the horn. And then they had the 8202-001, their hardwired version, which came out at the same time, in the mid-70s, 1975. This one is earlier because it has the Delta alarm, other than the, and not the Edwards. And then they had, I believe, this around the same time. I'm pretty sure this actually came out a little bit after, but this is the 8203-001. This is their line cord version of the 8202. This one is very rare, and this one, as you can see, has the Edwards horn. And then they had an 8205-001, which was another hardwired version, but it actually had interconnect, and it had a Kabishi CLB27, and it had, I actually think it had more circuitry in it than this one, which is unique, but those are extraordinarily rare. Actually, the rarest GE you can get is the 8205 at the moment, unless we discover another model, such as an 8204, but that's unlikely. And then they had the 8201-101, which was another 12.6 volt unit. It used the circuitry that this one had, but it had a white battery flag and did not have that electric or magnetic clip in it to hold in the battery flag. And then there was the 8201-201, which was another 12.6 volt unit, and this one directly succeeded that one. And of course, this one uses the 8201-301 circuit board. And this is the mechanism that the 8201-101 would have used. I'm still after that model, of course. Those ones are quite rare. And then they had their 8201-301s, of course, which are very common and were very popular. And this is actually one that I got recently. This is my working one, is on my display board right now. As you can see, they kept the circuit board from the 8201-201. And then they had a really obscure version, the 8201-301A, which is literally just an 8201-301, but late. It's a late version. It's exactly the same, although it has been tampered with. Not by me, but yeah. And then I have one other square one, of course, but it's on my display board, like I said. And then they had their 8201-401, as you can see here, which is just the popular, as people call them, C4s. And then they had the 8201-401C, which had three versions. One with a white base with the metal sensor, one with a brown base with the metal sensor, which would have also had a brown horn, which I'm after. Those are very rare. I'd say almost as rare as these. And then they had a very late version labeled 8201-401C that had a black sensor just like this one. And I'm after all three of those still. And then, of course, they had the SMK-2, which is by far the rarest C4 unit, 8201-401 unit you can get. And then they had, of course, their really late versions, obscure versions. The SMK-6/M1, which I believe is this version, if I remember correctly. Yes, M1. And then they had the SMK-6/M2s, which was basically identical but slightly later, and those directly preceded the Black & Deckers. And then whenever they sold them to Black & Decker, Black & Decker had their own C4s branded. And some did actually keep the GE mechanism. And then they switched to their far more popular SMK-60/M3 design, which uses the circuitry that they still use today in EI electronics units. Anyhow, I'm going to get all these put back, and then I'll get into the manuals. Alright, now on to what came inside the box. So here is the travel pouch. I will not be opening this because it is still factory sealed. But when you see these on eBay, a lot of times you'll just see them in these. You never really see them in the box, which is pretty cool. Then there's the sticker that would have been on the back, but it fell off. I don't know. I might try to glue that back on. Probably not, but we'll see. Of course, the ownership registration certificate. Already showed this. The service sheet, which shows you where you can get the alarm serviced, which I think by this time GE had been. Oh no, they still had a lot of their places, but I'm not really going to go through this because it's not really that interesting. I think I showed it better in some of my older GE videos. So, let's see if I can put that back. And then here's, this is instructions to install it permanently, which I don't know why you would do that because this is meant to be a travel alarm, but we, of course, like I already mentioned, have seen a few of these installed normally. So, yeah. So pause if you want to read any of this. It's interesting, that looks more like a 82-301 than SMK-2. And yes, I probably will be putting this on my door, if you're wondering. And then I don't think there's anything on the back. Yep. So I'll put all of this away. And now we'll get onto the main manual, model SMK-2. I really like that picture. General Electric. And this is a large manual. Is that all of it? It is not all of it. Bear with me here. Alright, we'll start off with this side. Once again, pause if you want to read any of this. There's how you install it on the door. There's the travel pouch, which actually has GE printed on it, which is pretty cool. I think there's a sticker that says GE. But once again, like I said, I'm not going to open that as it's still factory sealed. Onto the other side. And one last time, if you want to read it, then feel free to pause. Wow, and this video is 20 minutes long. There's instructions on where you can place it. I would not recommend putting it on a door myself, but it's kind of too late for that, I guess, as it's now the 2000s, or the 2020s, I should say. But anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry that it was so long, but of course, if you know me, I have to get into GE's history because that's what I like to do. But anyhow, once again, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.